And with me now from Washington is political reporter for the Daily Beast, Betsy Woodruff. Okay, Betsy, the take on your story today is you say that by pretty much supporting Paul Ryan, by praising Paul Ryan's primary opponent and not endorsing the Speaker of the House, this might cost Trump when it comes to November. Why do you believe that?
Because Trump's path to the White House runs through Rust Belt states, particularly Wisconsin, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. The only way Trump can win Wisconsin is if he maximizes voter turnout in the southeast corner of the state. It's a lot of conservative Christians, a lot of evangelicals, very Republican, very loyal to folks like Scott Walker, and of course, Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan is the most popular Wisconsin politician in southeast Wisconsin. That's where his district is. Now, Reince Priebus, the RNC chair, worked overtime to get Paul Ryan and Scott Walker to support Trump and try to unify the Wisconsin Republican Party behind him. We know Trump's going to lose states like Florida. He could only recoup that if he does well in Wisconsin. Trump, however, doesn't seem to think that Republican unity in the state is that important to him. Look, Paul Nehlen, Ryan's primary challenger, is probably almost guaranteed going to lose next Tuesday. Trump gains nothing by supporting him. However, because Trump totally undermined any efforts at building Republican unity in Wisconsin, Republicans there aren't going to help him as much. And so the Southeast voters that he needs to turn out, if he even has a prayer of winning the state, aren't going to be there. It's much less likely they will because they're so loyal to Ryan. Trump had everything to lose and nothing to gain by endorsing Ryan's opponent and did it anyway. It's really a perplexing, baffling move on his part.
When you're talking about re-election, no candidate on the Hill wants a repeat of what happened to Eric Cantor. Remember his stunning defeat 2 years ago. He was expected to be House Majority Leader, right? Primary loss, huge blowout to top Republican congressional folks. How is Ryan, though, different? We know that Eric Cantor did really well with fundraising, and he was sort of out of touch with his constituency.
Exactly. Eric Cantor hardly ever went back to his district, and there were a lot of local political tensions going on in Central Virginia that Cantor didn't understand. There were already some factions, some divisions in his district. He was on one side. Dave Bratt, who defeated him, his supporters were on the other side. Bratt ran a really positive race against Cantor. He didn't impugn his character. He didn't do much to try to demonize Cantor as a person. He focused on the issues, particularly immigration and trade, and pulled off this upset. Paul Nehlen, on the other hand, isn't able to capitalize on any disunity in Paul Ryan's district because Republicans there are unified. Nehlen hasn't picked up any major endorsements in the state of Wisconsin. His only supporters are parachuting in from outside, and there aren't rifts that he can cash in on. On top of that, Paul Ryan lives in the district. He goes back all the time. His kids go to school there. He's very well connected. He marches in parades, etc. The only similarity really between Paul Ryan and Eric Cantor is that they're both very powerful, and they both are a bit more moderate, especially on immigration and trade. Besides that, the dynamics of the two races are pretty different, which I imagine is why Paul Ryan isn't losing too much sleep over this challenge.
In other campaign news, new polls out this week show Clinton leading Trump in key battleground states. We're talking 6 points ahead in Florida, 9 in Michigan, 11 points in Pennsylvania. Does the Trump campaign really have reason to worry?
Yes. 100%. In fact, a number of polls came out today, and zero of them have good news for Trump. And it's not just the Trump campaign. We got polls today in New Hampshire showing incumbent Kelly Ayotte down by 2 digits against her Democratic challenger, Maggie Hassan. And a poll in Pennsylvania shows the incumbent Republican there, Pat Toomey, a senator, he and Ayotte are both senators, Pat Toomey tied and down 1 point within the margin of error against his Democratic challenger. So not only is Trump really struggling in these swing states, but the down ballot Republicans, particularly senators who have to win if Republicans want to keep the Senate, are kind of flailing as well. It's not just a Trump problem. It's an overall problem for the Republican Party and their ability to hold the Senate.
So, Betsy, what does the Trump campaign need to do? If they're trailing with these losses in key battleground states, how do they pick up the speed?
You know, one thing they could do is actually start building serious campaign infrastructure in a lot of these states. I was in Loudoun County, Northern Virginia earlier this week, where I grew up, so it was fun covering it there. And the Republicans in the county told me that Trump has basically no on-the-ground presence. If you want to be president, you have to win Virginia, and if you want to win Virginia, you have to win Loudoun. Very populous, very influential, lots of donors, just very important. Trump has very little, if any, on-the-ground infrastructure to speak of, at least that I've seen, that my sources are telling me. If he really wants to win, he has to get down to the brass tacks of campaigning instead of focusing on, chasing after every annoying, shiny object that crosses his path. And if we know anything from the last year, it's that the odds of him being able to make that pivot under so much pressure and in such a small period of time are not particularly high.
And when you look, Betsy, at national polls are showing similar trends. There's actually a Fox News poll that has Clinton leading by 10%, 10 points actually across the board. Can you just chalk this up to a post-convention bounce, or is this something more?
It seems like it's something more. And what really struck me about that Fox News poll is they also asked voters about which candidate they thought would better handle different issues. And 51% of voters preferred Clinton rather than Trump on the issue of immigration. Immigration is Trump's central issue. It's the reason that he won the Republican primary. The fact that the flat-out majority of American voters don't think Trump would be best on it, don't get excited about the prospect of a border wall, is really bad news for him. It means even if he gets back on message, even if he starts talking about his policy positions and the issues that really put together the Trump coalition, it might not be enough to get him across the finish line because American voters just don't agree, at least according to that poll.
Okay, Betsy Woodruff, a gal from Loudoun County. Who knew?
Who knew?
Thank you, Betsy.